Hello students, in the last class we study about Golgi apparatus. Now we are going to study about another cell organelle, that is mitochondria. You have heard that mitochondria is also known as powerhouse of the cell. Why it is known as powerhouse of the cell? Anyone? We will study now. So, first of all, when we are studying about mitochondria, we want to know about its shape and where it is present. Actually, the mitochondria is present both inside the plant cell and animal cell. It provides the energy to the cell. Actually, the process of respiration takes place inside the mitochondria only. How it takes, I'll tell you. First of all, we can see its structure. How its structure is, we will study. Actually, mitochondria is two-walled structure like thermos. You have seen thermos, yeah? Bottle you might have seen. So they are having two layers. One is inside one and another is outside one. So in the same way, it is also having the inner membrane and the outer membrane. Its inner membrane, you can say, is folded into finger-like projections, and outer membrane is smooth and porous. Next, we can see it is rod shape. Basically, its shape is just like a rod. So that's why we call it a rod shape. Next point is, you can say, I told you, outer membrane is smooth and porous. Inner membrane is folded into finger-like projection. Why it is folded into finger-like projection? Because to increase its surface area. Suppose, like here, hand is here. If we check its surface area, it's very less. Now, what we do to increase its surface area? I had opened it into the different fingers. Now, here we can see like this, its surface area is increased. In the same way, mitochondria is also having finger-like projections of foldings, due to which its surface area is increased. So more number of ATP molecules that are known for energy can be produced. Here, these membrane is folded into finger-like projections, and these forms cristae. You can say cristae. I'll show you with the help of diagram. Don't worry, we'll study. Next, inner membrane and cristae have stock F1 particles for ATP. What is ATP? Just I talked about ATP. ATP is, you can say, a molecule known as adenosine triphosphate. Got it? It is used as energy in our body. Whatever work we do, moving our hand, thinking, respiration process, or whatever process are going on, everything needs energy. From where does this energy comes from? This energy comes from, you can say, ATP only. The ATP energy is utilized to do any kind of work. Got it? And this ATP is produced within the mitochondria. The respiration process we do, the oxygen is taken to different parts in the body and it is distributed in all the cells, and that oxygen inside the cell is utilized and is utilized with, you can say, glucose, and is converted into ATP, that is an energy form. Got it? Next, you can say there is a proteinaceous gel-like substance that fills the inner part or inner space of the mitochondria, and it is known as matrix. It is known as matrix. Now let us see the shape of mitochondria. As I told you, mitochondria is two-walled. So here we can see its internal structure. This is the outer wall. What is it? Outer wall. Got it? Inside this, inner wall is present. Something like this. Here you can see outer wall, or you can see outer membrane. And this is inner membrane. Inner membrane. Next we can see the space between outer membrane and inner membrane is known as outer chamber. And the space inside the inner membrane is known as inner chamber. Here, the fluid is present inside inner chamber, the space which is present inside the mitochondria, and this fluid is known as, what is this fluid called? Matrix. It is known as matrix. And you know, mitochondria has its own DNA and ribosome. So that is why it can synthesize its own protein. It do not depend on other. It synthesizes its own protein, and it has its own genetic material or DNA, we can say. Yeah, you can see this is genetic material, and these are ribosomes, you can say, present inside it. It is self-autonomous organelle, and it's, you can say, DNA are also self-autonomous, that is, they can replicate their own. So here you can look, this is the shape of mitochondria. Mitochondria look somewhat like this. Is it clear to you all? Okay, so what is the function of mitochondria? Actually, the function of mitochondria is to provide the energy. Respiration reaction takes place inside the mitochondria. I told you the food we eat in the form of glucose. Here we can see glucose C6H12O6. Glucose with 6 moles of oxygen. Glucose with 6 moles of oxygen here is utilized by mitochondria and is converted into 6 mole of carbon dioxide plus 6 mole of water and 36, you can say, molecules of ATP. That is form of energy. Got it? The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. What is it? Adenosine triphosphate. Actually, it contains some enzymes, and with the help of that enzymes, here the molecule, you can say, molecule of ADP is converted to ATP when one phosphorus is added to it. ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Here one phosphorus molecule is added to this molecule and it is converted into ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is a form of energy. Whatever work we do, the energy is required, that energy is in the form of ATP only. Is it clear to you all? So that's why it is known as powerhouse of the cell. Hence, it is also known as powerhouse of the cell. Is it clear to you all? Okay, now we are going to study about our next cell organelle, that is plastids. So kids, our next topic is plastids. Plastid are, you can say, cell organelle which are found in plant cell only. These are found in plant cell, they are not found in any animal cell. These plastid are also known as kitchen of the cell because they prepare the food. The process of photosynthesis take place inside the plastids only. Got it? Next is, we can say, I told you it's a double membrane structure and its shape is, you can say, oval, spherical or discoidal. Basically their shape is just like spherical or oval. Got it? Next we can see, basically these are of three types. What are those three types? One is chloroplast, second is chromoplast and third one is leucoplast. Now, if we are going to differentiate them, so we can differentiate on the different bases. First of all, we are taking their occurrence, where they occur inside the, you can say, plant or in which cell. So basically, these occur in, you can say, green parts of the plant. They occur in flower or fruits. Actually, they provide the color. We will study in next point, and they occur in both exposed and unexposed part of the plant. Next is what color they are having. Generally, you can see mostly chloroplast are green in color, chromoplast are red, orange or yellow in color, and leucoplast are colorless. Next point is their function. If we see the function they perform, the chloroplast perform the function of photosynthesis. I told you photosynthesis is the process in which green plants prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water. Got it? These are the raw material. So this photosynthesis take place inside the chloroplast only. We'll study its structure in detail just now only. Next we can see chromoplast. Chromoplast, these are found in, you can say, flowers or fruits. Generally they provide the color to flower or fruits so that they can attract insects or other organisms so that their pollination can occur easily. We can see the beautiful flowers, petals of beautiful flowers contains, you can say, chromoplast only. Got it? Next is leucoplast. The function of leucoplast is of storage. Storage, why storage? And storage of what? Storage of, you can say, starch, carbohydrate, you can say protein or lipids. These are stored in leucoplast of plant cell. Why they are stored? As we see, when we are at home, it's not like every time we are hungry, we go bring the food and then we'll cook and then we'll have it. Sometimes at home also, what we do, we store the food so that we can utilize it whenever we feel hungry. In the same way, plant cells also need the food so they can utilize it in the future. So its function is storage. Here we can see these are also of three types. Leucoplasts are of three types. One is amyloplast. It stores the starch. Next is aleuroplast. It stores the protein. Next is aleuroplast. That is, it stores the, you can say, lipids. Got it? Now we are talking about its pigment. The pigment present in chloroplast is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and carotenoids. Carotenoids, you can see, these are for colors. And here in chromoplast, we can see only carotenoids are present. That is xanthophyll, generally it is yellow, and carotene. Carotene, it's, you can say, orange or red in color. And in leucoplast, no pigment is present. No such pigment is present. Got it? So, if we talk about the function of plastids, what is the function of plastid? One is photosynthesis, that is performed by chloroplast. It performs the process of photosynthesis. Next, providing the color to fruit or flowers so that it attracts the animals or insect, which helps in their pollination or dispersal of seed. Next is leucoplast. Leucoplast function is of storage of starch, protein, or you can say lipids. Got it? And one another function is also to provide us fresh oxygen, because photosynthesis is taking place, and in the process of photosynthesis oxygen is released. Got it? Now let us study in detail about chloroplast. Okay, so here if we see the structure of, you can say, chloroplast, it is oval in shape and it is double membrane. Here double membrane plastid, you can see. Suppose this is the outer membrane and this is its inner membrane. Inner membrane and outer membrane. Actually, plastid contains, you can see, granum, these are, you can say, granum. It's just like cone-like structure gathered together, you can say. These are connected to one another with the help of lamella. This is lamella. And here, this is stroma. Stroma matrix. Stroma matrix, and this single piece is known as thylakoid, and this whole is known as what it is known as granum. This whole is known as granum. It contains the chlorophyll, and this is stroma. It contains the photosynthetic enzyme. This is lamella. This is lamella. It connects one granum to another. So here the granum, in granum chlorophyll is present, so light reaction of photosynthesis take place in granum, and the dark reaction of photosynthesis take place in stroma. It is dependent on light and it is not dependent on light. These reactions you will study in class 11. So here we can see it's the structure of chloroplast. Got it? Chloroplast contains its own DNA and they are having their own ribosomes also, so that they can, you can say, produce their own protein, and they are self-autonomous bodies and they can replicate by themselves only. They do not need the protein from the endoplasmic reticulum or other cell organelles. Got it? So these are self-autonomous organelles, and these are also known as kitchen of the cell, because all the food prepared inside the plant cell is prepared here, you can say, because photosynthesis process is taking place here. Got it?